Well, anyways, I hope everybody's having a good morning. We have George today join the discussion because I think it's a hot topic. Great discussion. We talked about this stuff already.
Yeah.
We just wanted to bring the camera. I thought it was beautiful.
Well, how are you?
Anyways, so I thought it was great to bring you into this, and you're in the frame. We're on the frame. Okay, just double checking.
So who's who?
Who's who? This is Korea, and George. I'm nobody. I'm cool with that, though. I'm very cool with that.
Am I on camera?
You're on camera. You're good. You're in a good position.
And not on candy camera.
Not on candy camera or candy jalapenos. I had candy jalapenos for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Don't make
jar.
that face. It is so good.
No, I don't like hot stuff.
Oh.
No, it was good.
Well,
Sweet and
I'm
hot.
not
That was so
big
good.
into hot things, but that
I would do anything.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get started because George has opened shop up.
Yeah.
Around 1, so we'll make sure we get done and get him, make sure he gets going. But thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yeah.
I know there's a deer in your heart. I hope we can bring you back more in this discussion. Before we get started, we had to do a podcast, so you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, anywhere there's podcasts. We are there. Just type in Forever Grace, so you can join us. Today we're going to talk about what ministry really looks like. I asked you something. Do you know why I posted that picture?
I had an idea, but I thought it was interesting that you showed that particular photo, because if I remember correctly, there was a young man that came in while we were doing haircuts. We were actually doing a photo shoot for the website and everything. And I remember the young man saying, I don't have any money to get a haircut. And one of the things that I remember distinctly about that, it was like, if you need one, just come on and sit down. We'll get you straight.
Yeah.
Right. So it wasn't really about the money. It was about meeting the human need. Right.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the resources at your disposal to be able to do so.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I saw that picture.
You changed his life. It changed his life.
Yeah.
It did, because he said something to you. Because I think afterwards he said something. He told you how much it touched him. It really touched him.
Well, he never had an experience like that before.
He never had a haircut like that. He never got his hair washed.
Yeah.
He got the full 9, because I think you gave him a hot towel too.
Gave him a hot towel.
And you gave him a hot towel treatment too. Yeah, that was beautiful. Yeah, because I was looking, I was like, man, we were putting this together because we've had this discussion before.
Right. And
when I was putting together, I saw the picture, and because I was right there when you're washing his hair, and I just saw him, man. He didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And you can tell he felt shame. He didn't have any money. But as it went through the progress of the haircut and what you were doing with him, it changed. Like he was relaxed. He allowed you to love on him.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, and to see that, it was just amazing to me. I think that's your motto is that change somebody's life. Truly believe that.
Yeah. So it's interesting, right? So you think about what's kind of going on with the church, what's going on in our communities. A lot of people think that you need to throw a whole lot of money at stuff to eradicate a lot of the societal ills that we're facing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, really what you need is a willing heart and love.
Yep.
Right? So, you guys have been instrumental in kind of showing me that lesson, as far as the clothing giveaways and things of that nature, where people from all walks of life, whether they're donating, whether they're coming to receive, or whether they're actually supporting you guys, coming together for a common good.
Yeah.
Right? And not once did I ever hear a whole lot of things about, well, we need X amount of dollars in order to make that happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was all about a matter of coming together in terms of a collective effort. Mm-hmm. And then you see the outcome of 2,000 people from here all the way up to Quioccasin wanting to get clothing. Right? It was the same thing when GWE, George West End, we try to duplicate that blueprint with some of the hurricane victims of I think it was Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
And 300 bags of clothing now got sent.
And I think was it Texas?
In Texas,
yeah, the flooding.
The flooding in Texas, I think that was Harvey, right? So,
the way the community just came together, and because we were outside folding clothes.
Yeah.
I remember that we were outside folding clothes, or folding and sorting, so they'd be all straight. We filled the suite all up. I remember that. We filled the whole suite up. But there was people coming up, donating, pulling up, and I think you had said something to them, And they're like, no, this is my pleasure. I want to do this.
Right.
Like, this is so great that you're doing this because we wanted to join in. And it wasn't like, hey, we want your money. It was, hey.
I want a tax write-off.
Yeah, it was nothing about tax write-off. That's one thing we had never done with the clothing giveaway.
Right.
We didn't see that we get taxes write-off. It was just, can you help out somebody who made that happen and we can come together? Even if it's a shirt. If all of us put something in, we can help somebody.
Yeah.
At least one person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most important thing. But yeah, I mean, that was beautiful. I thought it was great. That was a lot of stuff to do.
Right. So I mean, so like if you think about what's striking to me is that there wasn't any sort of political affiliation. There wasn't any sort of agenda. There wasn't anything closely related to politics when it came together.
Correct.
Coming together for something like that. And I think that whatever platform we have as citizens, small or large, there's something that we can do to affect.
Yeah. Even if it's just one.
If it's just one person, right? So
that's like that dude.
Right. So I'm just I'm thankful that I'm in a position to be able to help facilitate change like that. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like it's an example that we all can follow.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm just that jazzed me up when I saw that photo.
That was the point. I was excited. I was like, I put it together Monday, and I was like, man, I can't wait to post this thing out. I didn't want to share it with you because I wanted to tag you and like surprise you in that way, and so then other people get to see it. Yeah, and you would get the meaning when you saw it and stuff. So because we talked about it because you told me after the shoot, I saw the boy. I didn't know he didn't have money, but I could tell that he you can tell something, but yeah, you can tell it, and we talked about it afterwards. It was amazing. I think we have had. I think we all had this discussion before. The idea of what ministry looks like, to what it really is. You can tell this from your heart. We won't mention anywhere from where we come from because I think we always want to cover people with love. Yeah. So I want to make sure we set that tone. But church ministry and stuff like that. Yeah, we always want to cover people, but I think we have all felt. I think the idea of what we believe that what ministry is getting on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning and singing and preaching to you're taking the buckets to the parking lot to and then come back on like on Wednesday or something like that, and we think that's what ministry is, or we had to go on a mission trip outside of our neighborhood to another whole other country or whatever. And that, I think, really in reality is what the definition of ministry becomes. Right. And I think we have, all four of us have come to a point in our lives to go, there has to be something more and something a lot simpler that's more human, more human relationship wise. And because I think we have had those discussions.
Yeah. I think that it's interesting because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been on missions trips outside of the U.S., probably going to 13 different countries. I've been on, different initiatives right here locally, and at the end of the day, what I think about most is how can I affect the platform or the surrounding community that I have currently. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, I personally believe that the church is a training ground for you to be able to go out and go out. Yeah. Right? So how do I become equipped to go do what I believe what the Great Commission is, right? So, it talks about Matthew 28, it says go forth. Yeah. So, and this is not an indictment on any one person or any church ministry or whatever.
I think we grow. We have to grow and stuff.
But at the end of the day, it's kind of like if we as believers are kind of like stuck within the four walls of the church, and we're coming in and we're just receiving. At what point do we say, okay, how do I go out and then pour out? Yeah. Correct. Which is what I think is most important because, I was listening to this song. There's this Christian hip hop artist by the name of Derek Minor. Yeah. And in this song, it's called Dear Mr. Christian. And in that song, it basically is kind of like, Dear Mr. Christian, I wonder are you listening? I have all of these different problems, but how can you call me a sinner and judge me and tell me that I have to come serve your Lord when I have these issues here, right? Yeah. It's really hard for, I would say, the average person to really accept that. I want to be delicate by the way I say this. It's tough for someone who is a non-believer to say, okay, well, I'm gonna throw faith into this thing, but you know what? I got light bill due. I have no food in my refrigerator. I don't have any clothing. It makes it that much harder for them. Yeah. When they have those life situations kind of staring them in the face. Yeah. But imagine if not only did I give you the gospel of this grace of faith to help you with walking this life out, but also coming to help you meet the human need in the process. Correct. Right? Yep. So if I'm helping you meet that human need in the process, now I'm opening up an avenue to minister the love of God. Yep. I think many times we get these people on, and again, not an indictment, but I'm really passionate about this. You get these televangelists, send me $15, send me $20, and I'll send you this prayer cloth and this miracle oil. And this person is clinging to life or death kind of hope. Yeah. Like, you know, the next 10 minutes of their life could be tragically altered if something doesn't go down. Correct. But we got a lot of people out here selling hope. And I don't believe that was the intent of the gospel. I think the intent of the gospel was to love on people and to, you know, to show God's love, but also help meet the human needs so that way they can see that not only are you believing in something that's very real and omnipresent, but something that's also very tangible. Yeah. Us being his hands on this earth.
Well, I think you hit a point there. It's the human need. I look at Jesus, what he was doing in the Gospels, if playing wrong, was that he would always tend to the human need first. Right. And it was like the human need. That was like a touch. I think that was more personal than if someone else called spiritual need. We can get theologian on us, but deeper. But I think it was the human. It was the human relationship. Right. And meeting that human need, it was more personal for them. And I think in the midst of that, it really showed who he is. Right. And I think we just like, well, let's try to get people saved. And it's like, what about they're hungry? Mm-hmm. They don't got clothes. They got a house. You know, how are they supposed to get to work? Right. We don't care about that. I get to knock one thing off my list, or I get to add souls that got saved, so I get to heaven. I go, look what I done. And he's like, I don't care what you done. Look what I done. You're here, aren't you? Yeah. I mean,
take it a step further. If someone's hungry, you sit down and eat lunch with them and get to know them. You know, as a person.
Yeah.
And if we don't, who will?
Yeah.
Cults, gangs, groups like that who are going to want to control.
Why do people go to gangs?
That's a good question.
Why? Because they feel like they're part of something, and they're
loved.
They're loved, but they're not really. We know that. It's based on if you stay in a certain model. Even if you stay in a model, you can get whacked out. Yeah. I mean, but they think if we can stay in a model, at least I have people around me. Right. It's a false brotherhood. Mm-hmm. But they go in it because they don't have anything.
Right.
And they have people that will look out for them.
Yeah.
You know what I find interesting? Like you'll find, as you journey in life, that ministry, missions, you can't do it alone. It's a collective effort. Yeah. But I've also been on this side of things where I felt like if I wasn't doing exactly what someone else was doing, I wasn't doing what God called me to do. Right. So what would you say to those who want to serve the Lord with others, but they have certain desires that may not, or they have certain ideas that they're scared to express, or they don't think fits what the mission at hand is?
Right. That's a great question. I think that first and foremost, God is not the author of any kind of confusion or fear, right? And I also think that when there is a vision that God gives you, there's also provision in terms of people that will allow you to meet that particular thing that He's called you to do. You guys know my story. Mm-hmm. I came here $200 in my pocket, homeless, trying to figure it out. And it was funny how I was like, Lord, I know that I'm here for a reason. I don't quite know what that is yet, but I do know that as I walk this thing out, you're going to add people to me, and there will be seasonal. There will be some people that come in for a purpose, and then after their purpose is fulfilled, it'll kind of go away. But to get more closely to answering your question, I think it really kind of boils down to relationship, right? Because at the end of the day, like I said, the church is a training ground, but that does not supersede the one-on-one that you have with the Father. I was in a homegoing service yesterday for a family member, and that was one of the things the Lord pressed on me to say to those in the audience, and that was, it's all about relationship. It doesn't matter what seminary you went to or theological school that you went to. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You could be a pastor with 12,000 people in your audience or your congregation. At the end of the day, it's really about, okay, Lord, what is exactly that you want me to do, and what is my purpose, and what is your purpose for my life, right? And so what we have to do, and I believe you guys know this as being pastors, what you have to quickly identify is, number one, who has the Lord added to your life to help you fulfill your vision, fulfill your call, and secondly, be able to quickly discern those that aren't. And then when you determine that those that are there that aren't meant to be a part of what you're trying to accomplish, it's best to kind of move on in love, because those types of things can derail time. It can derail purpose, number one, and then secondly, it can cause you to get derailed a little bit spiritually if you're not careful, right? So me personally, I've always kind of noticed since coming here to Richmond, and then being on different trips and things like that, because of my relationship with God, when I start to get that, what I refer to as a check in my spirit that something's not right, I've quickly learned to run. I've quickly learned to say, okay, well, that's not working. You know, whether it's certain friends, certain business opportunities, certain things that come to me, and I'm like, okay, I need to assess that, Lord, or as you say, Pastor Josh, Dad, you know, what should I do, right? And I need to be quickly in tune so that way I'm always in alignment with what he wants, because if I get out of track, I'm in sin. And, you know, I think that, you know, we as believers, sometimes we have an opportunity, there is an opportunity, or, how do I say this? Sometimes there's situations where we will actually psychologize sin. Like we put levels to it, right? Where it's like, oh, this is a little sin, or this is a big sin. Well, no, sin is sin, right? So if I've fallen out of the will of God, whether through relationships or through direction or through whatever have you, then I'm out of whack. I need to get myself back together, and I need to be quick to repent. And I always kind of like to do this thing here, because it should be straight and narrow, just like this, right? So hopefully that answers your question in a long-winded kind of way. But short answer would be stay in tune with the will of God, and that's the only way you can do that, is through a relationship. And He's going to tell you, He's going to guide you, you know, along the way. And then it's kind of funny how God operates in my life specifically, where it's like, even when I'm not kind of willing to go in a certain way, because I ask the Lord order my steps, people, things, they tend to kind of remove themselves. And then I'm able to continue with the will of God.
Yeah. It's not something that, it certainly at times can feel like you're going at it alone, I think, and that you have to figure out how to do everything for yourself. And like you said, I got to figure out how to get this person out of the way, and it's interesting how everything will just work itself out.
Right. Yeah. And see, me personally, I don't know about you guys, but I know earlier on, and even times now, I tend to be a control freak. I want to control situations. I want to control how people move in and out of my life.
Yeah.
But as I guess, you know, as I continue to walk this walk, I'm learning just to trust them. Like, you know, hey, you know, if they leave, then Lord, I trust you have something better for them.
Yeah.
And something better for me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you love us all.
And the ministry is still intact, and the mission still goes on. It's still stuff still gets done.
Right.
No bridges get burned.
Right.
And stuff. Yeah. I want to take this discussion a little deeper.
Okay.
Actually, it's gonna be simpler. I think we all can relate to this. We experienced this personally as well. I think we all have. I think as a community, as a church, a lot of times, our individual, if we think we're individual churches, which are all one, I think sometimes we can make emphasis on each other that serving here is more important. For instance,
serving within the 4 walls.
Being here, being a barber, is more important. And I think that sometimes we get like that. I think we get very religious. Because we got that with our business. It's like we had stuff going on, and then we were looked down upon because we weren't there. Yeah. And it's like, well, this is where we're supposed to be. Right. And I heard, I was listening. I think I told a story. I'll tell again because you got the idea from this. I was listening to a guy named Dr. Kruger, and he said he was at ministering somewhere down in, I think, Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. Again, because I heard the story again. And the guy, he got done the whole week talking with him, having discussions and stuff. And that head pastor asked him, "Hey, what should I preach on next Sunday?" Yeah. And he goes, well, since you asked, he pulled out the bulletin, and then within the bulletin was all these areas you can serve. He's like, you put there that these areas are more important than what they do in their lives. Right. And he goes, why don't you ask them what they do? Do a poll and get what everybody does and put it into the bulletin the following week and roll it out miles away and read it off and say these are important. Because I think we know this. I think if a woman is a stay-at-home mom, I think that's beautiful. That's so ministering to his kids because I think it's a partnership with him. You said relationship, and I think you're absolutely right. It's a relationship. He wants to help take care of his kid, but he's not going to do it without you. Right. It's a relationship. And so I think, like, your wife, I mean, she works part-time, right?
Full-time.
Full-time, and she takes care. I think what she does is amazing. Mm-hmm. Even you, let's talk about that. Let's talk about you. We'll lift you up, make you glow a little bit, which you hate doing. We'll put you on the spot anyways. Because that's what I like to do with you. I like to take you out of your comfort zone. I think what you do, if somebody was sitting here and really sitting here and watch you barber, you can only come to the conclusion, that is my dad there. Because my dad loves to cut hair. My dad loves to make somebody look nice before they leave. My dad loves to have somebody feel relaxed and feel great and have a beautiful have a beautiful conversation while they sit in that chair. I see my dad in that. Like, that's just, I mean, I think the one day we were all sitting there watching you, and we're like, this is beautiful. And all I could see was my dad. And I saw you too. And I saw a beautiful partnership together serving. Whether you knew it or not, it was like y'all were in it together, and that person in that chair just was feeling so loved on. I would call that ministry.
Yes.
Big time.
Yes.
Over anything, picking up the buckets, the collection buckets at the church service. That right there was ministry. And whether that person knows it or not, man, they're being loved on like crazy because Dad loves to cut hair. Right. He loves to shave people. Like, I get that. I mean, I think we have talked about that before because I think we both have felt, and you and Tim got a laundry list of. He could sit here all day talking about the different church ministries you've been to.
But if I may add something to kind of lift you up a little more. Literally, what you do changes the way other people look at them. Yeah. Literally changes them. You affect people you will never see because you change that one person. You could help him get a job. You could help him change somebody else's life.
Get them a booth in.
Yeah, let's take it. Go ahead.
I got more to say. You said change how somebody looks. Y'all heard about the story about the cop who shaved the homeless man?
Yes.
What he got the job at McDonald's.
Right.
Like, he changed his appearance, how people saw him, and what happened? He had a job. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, man.
This is what if somebody's a believer, but like this guy didn't have enough money? You come in and change him, or he just need to do that. Who are people generally going to listen to? Somebody with a jacked up haircut or a sharp haircut?
Right. There's interesting. There's a scripture that says that iron sharpens iron, so is a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. Right.
Relationship.
That's literal.
Right. It's literal. Right. And so when you think about the concept of barbering in general, we're asking the Lord. In fact, I have the scripture up there, Psalm 90, verse 17. As far as you're asking the Lord to bless your hands to work through you. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that's in scripture is really, if you think about what they refer to the concept of kingdom business.
Yeah.
You know, there's really two types of priests that have been described in the ministry. In the Word, it talks about the Aaronic priest, which is responsible for being actually in the sanctuary, where they serve the sanctuary. They serve people that come to the sanctuary. And then you talk about the Levitical priests. The Levitical priests were enterprising, right? They had businesses. They served the community, right? So even though I might, quote unquote, not be an actual pastor within the actual sanctuary, I am a pastor of my barbershop, right?
You think about we are a royal priesthood,
right?
So even when you're collecting, I think this is where somebody goes, "Oh, it's only ministry if you don't collect money." You have a business.
Yeah.
You help employ other people who have families. I mean, by you having a barber shop in the community, because Dad loves to cut hair,
right,
and make people look good, you're doing ministry.
Right.
Like literally, even if you're taking somebody's money.
Yeah.
And now again, if we have eyes, we may not see that if our eyes are just trying to get money for our business. You know, even though he's still there because he wants to make sure people's hair cut.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you're right. You hit it right with the Levites. The Levites were out. They were out in the community, and they would cycle sometimes in to the temple and help with different stuff. But
so yeah, we refer to that as house ministry, right? So my wife and I, you know, in the ministry that we serve in, you know, we serve kids. You know, we help teach kids. You know what I'm saying? So we to your point, we do cycle back and forth.
Yeah.
But you know, also think about the one-on-one that takes place within the chair. Like you hear our manner of conversations from clients, and some of them are edifying, and some of them are not. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to basically minister grace, minister love, right? And to make that person feel like $1 million when they walk out, to Tim's point.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, we've seen people get saved in that chair.
Yeah.
We've seen people receive healing for pain and sickness in those chairs.
And all by giving somebody a haircut.
And just the opportunity to give someone a haircut.
You know? It's I love that you can have ministry mission wherever you go. And it does kind of break my heart though when you have people that think it stays within the four walls, and it only works when I'm with a certain group of people, because then you have people that don't want to go out and work with other church ministries. You don't want to, you have people that don't want to, meet up with this friend or this person, and get to know them and see, how they could be a friend and help them in their life. So it just breaks my heart that you have people that also think that their talents and gifts and desires has to be within four walls, and they can't do anything outside of that, or they stay outside and they don't want to come in.
Yeah, and I would say this: what you do in a chair with somebody is just as powerful as you going to minister to the kids.
Right.
I would say they're equal. Really are equal. But I think as a church, we'll try to say this is more important. The kids are more important than your barber. And it's like, no, they're both the same. A stay-at-home mom who they're just as equal. Somebody who cleans toilets. I would say at a strip club, it's just equal because Dad likes clean toilets. He likes you to pop your butt on a clean toilet. I'll be right. It doesn't matter where it's at. It's there. It's just as powerful. And I would say it's equal. If you're going and preaching in front of 100,000 people, it's equal. If you're ministering to one person in that chair.
Right. So it all really kind of goes back to helps ministry, right? The same anointing that falls on the pastor is the same anointing that falls on the layperson that's responsible for cleaning the carpets or cleaning the bathrooms after service is over, right? It's no different here. If I profess to be a Christian and I've dedicated my work as unto God to meet the needs of His people, it's the same anointing that carries along with the ministry gifts.
Yeah.
I would call this evangelism, right? Because we're receiving the gospel, and when people come in, we have an opportunity to share the gospel. Not only just with clients that come in, with the staff as well. I've been open here 5 years, and I've had a cycle of men, and Pastor Josh will tell you, Sometimes I'm like ready to pull my hair, well, not pull my hair out, but sometimes I'm ready to just blow a plug and just be like, okay, you know, but then the Lord will be like, Grace, I haven't said it's time for him to move yet or leave yet, or vice versa, right? Because of my relationship with the Father, he's using me to not only minister to the people that come in here, but to minister to the men and the women that come through here as well. You know, and then when the Lord is like, okay, season's up, you know, you normally kind of see, it's funny, you normally kind of see when that season comes up, they kind of move themselves out. And I very rarely have to step in and be quote unquote a heavy, so to speak, right? But then again, it all kind of goes back to having a relationship and being able to, you know, what I refer to as minister Christ's love. And to be a vessel, so to speak, where, you know, you're his hands on this earth, right? So one of the things that we've talked about before is that this might be the only church they get throughout their life. They might come here once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. But if I'm not being that example I'm supposed to be, in deed and in action and in thought and talk and whatever, you know, I don't want to miss an opportunity to be who I'm supposed to be for them.
Yeah. And see, I would say, this is my opinion. I'll say opinion before I say opinion, since I don't get hate mail. Probably still get it anyways. I get all kinds of crap sometimes, but I would love to see a community do more about pouring the effort and resources into a community, like, for instance, like here.
Yeah.
That we were told that you got to put it there, but life is happening here too. Mm-hmm. You know, and be able to say, hey, you know, it'd be great. Me personally, like, hey George, you need some supplies. So let's help you with supplies this week. You know what I'm saying? Like, that helps.
Right.
It all reflects that we're investing in our community. We're not just investing within our four walls. Mm-hmm. We're going out to, like, the people. I think that's huge. I think there's nothing wrong with us getting together between four walls. We can't stay there.
Right. Yeah, I've always, even as a young believer, I've always had that kind of revelation that the church is out here, right?
Yeah.
Because Jesus, if you look at the 3-year period that Jesus was on this earth, well, not 3 year, the 3-year period of his ministry, where, you know, he was constantly moving.
Yeah.
He was going to meet the needs of the people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't set up this big building, say, come hither.
Yeah.
Right? He was out and about. Now, keep in mind, I don't knock mega churches and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, once people come into the saving knowledge of Christ, there needs to be a certain level of discipleship.
Yeah.
Right? Where folks come in and they actually say, okay, now that you've accepted this thing, now let's get instruction how to actually walk this life out. Right? Let's get trained. And let's go, what do you call it? Replenish the earth, right? What it says in Genesis, as far as the perfect plan of God was to go forth and replenish the earth, right? So, but at the end of the day, when we're talking about the focus of missions, I believe God will strategically place his people in certain areas in order to meet those needs, to share the gospel. So what I would encourage folks that, you know, if you, and this kind of goes back to Career's earlier question, right? So if you are in a ministry and the focus really isn't on missions, but more so about, you know, basically building the congregation, kind of doing that. And, you know, I think that if there is a difference of opinion, then you need to ask the Lord what it is you need to be doing. Because if your heart is to be out and about, kind of spreading the word, spreading the gospel, you need to ask the Father is if they're supposed to be in the place where they're at.
Yeah. He's so creative. Like, and like me personally, I don't like to be put in a box.
Yeah.
I like to write scripts, but I don't like to always go by a script. And you'll find that things just are unpredictable and go unplanned, but yet Dad has such a creative way of doing things and getting things done that it still comes out. It still comes out great.
Yeah.
So it really is. What does ministry really look like? It's a life that is led, and it can look very unorthodox. It can look unpredictable. It can look just crazy, just to a lot of people, because a lot of people are not used to that or seeing it done that way.
So I'm going to be completely transparent. Now I've known you guys now going on almost 3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I've sat back and I've personally watched. And I won't bring up any particular topic or situations, but I've sat here at times and I've watched you kind of believe stuff and believe your way out of stuff. And I'm like, in the beginning, I'm like, what in the world? Like, what in the world? Like, and I would even come to you and like, what are you doing? Like, and you're like, I'm just trusting. And I'm like, all right, man. Like because it was like, in the natural sense, it didn't make any sort of like sense to me what you were doing. But now I have the benefit of time now to kind of look back and say, okay, I've seen this, and I've seen this. And I'm like, that's solid, right? As far as how I've seen the Lord like actually move in you guys' lives. Yeah. So I don't know where that came from, but at the end of the day,
that's good stuff right there.
But at the end of the day, like that was encouraging to me, right? Mm-hmm. Because you, not only did you take the step out in faith, but you actually stood still. And what you were saying about, it can kind of look strange to people that's looking in. What does ministry look like? There is a certain element of like when the ministry is focused on you as an individual. Yeah. When the Lord is ministering directly through you, to you, that looks weird to people too. Yeah. Right? Like I can even say the same for the barbershop. It's like when I started off, I had 8 barbers. We had the money rolling in and it was beautiful and but then it was like, the Lord was like, you got too many in there. Scale it down. Scale it down. Then I'm like, well, Lord, how much further do you want me to go in terms of staff? Yeah. And then we landed on 3. Right? Yeah. And he showed me for this particular time period that as far as ministry is concerned, when I'm thinking about the staff, is that I'm more effective when I'm one-on-one with these guys and they're one-on-one with me. Yeah. And it's a much more intimate environment. It's a much more controlled environment. Yeah. Because now as you can imagine, with 8 barbers coming, working in the shop at one time, we would have all manner of conversations going on, all manner of things that are not godly going on. You know what I'm saying? It just seemed like chaotic, right? Mm-hmm. But now it's a much more controlled flow. Yeah. And you can have the type of conversations that you need, more targeted conversations, and it's more manageable. So he's showing me, like, because of my current situation, this is how I'm effective. Yeah. Right? So
can you say that you right now are in a much better place knowing what you know now as opposed to being back to where you were and having what you had?
So right now for me there's a period of a transition kind of going on. The way the Lord kind of like works in my own personal life is he will whisper something to me, and then it's interesting because what will happen is I'll dwell on that thing over a period of time, and as it starts to formulate, it starts to formulate into a particular vision, right? And then once I get that vision, then he works with me about kind of how to execute a plan on it. It's really much like a creative process, right? Where you kind of get a thought, and then all of a sudden, now let me add to it, let me figure it out, and then now that I have this thing in my head and then it's in my heart, then how do I produce it to the world, right? So when I think about, I don't even go any further back than that. When I think about what I know now versus what I knew then, I would say that I am a better place because I've learned to trust him more, right? Mm-hmm. Like I've gotten to a position where it's like if something kind of goes crazy, like somebody that I love or was part of the shop or whatever, they just leave unexpectedly. I've learned to trust God versus panic, right? Because when somebody X's out, somebody always kind of conveniently comes in and they're exactly what I need at the time that I need them. Right? Yeah. So I call it a certain element of having faith, but I think a lot of it is kind of built on trust and having a relationship where I know that, all right, God, I know you got me. You brought me this far. My mom always tells me, she says, God will never bring you this far to leave you now. Yeah. And I'm like, that is probably the most realist, most targeted, most impactful statement I've ever heard in my whole life. And I truly believe that now.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. You were talking about how what we were going through impacted you. Yeah. And that was the only case we had a relationship. And, you know, you would come and ask me. You would come we could talk about it.
It also had to be the relationship had to be built.
Yeah, it was
built.
And
it's still building.
It's still building. And just as much as you've been there, it impacted us. And I think that's funny is that as we go, that's ministry. Right. We're ministering because we have a relationship. Yeah. And we're talking about life. Right. General. Me and you built the walls next door.
Yes.
Literally. And that job was crazy. And think about all the ups and downs we went through. And did we sit there and go, well, we got to talk about the gospel together? Well, we were. Because we were having a relationship. Yeah. We talked about all kinds of stuff. What was going on in our hearts? We were sharing with each other's lives as we sit there coming out with bruises and cuts and all kinds of crap out of dust. I still remember the carpet.
Your hair was, you had highlights.
You missed the carpet situation. Right. That was nasty. Oh yeah. That was terrible. I still get kind of scratches from that. Y'all were talking. It kind of reminded me of something. You know what's so funny is that the disciples, after Jesus left, they went to the upper chamber and they stayed there. Right. Now, when the Holy Spirit came, in a sense, they left. Like he drove them out. You know what it never says? That they came back. And then now what happens is that they went out and now they were meeting in each other's homes. Like it was like they were high and they came low. Who does that remind you of? Jesus. Go up high, came low. And he was loving. They're loving that way, just as they're loved. Now they were stepping down and going out. We're gonna meet you right where you're at. Right. And that's why I said, I've heard you talk about pressure. You know, why don't you meet us here? And you're like, I know your thing is like, why don't you meet me here? This is where I'm at right now. You know, I'm ministering here. Why don't you meet me here? And we can hang out here, or you know, go to dinner or something like that. Why do I have to meet within the four walls to meet you? Right. And it's like we need to come out and have life together. Yeah. And that's huge.
Yeah.
Do life together.
That's ministry.
Can I touch on something real quick? Well, we have some time. I think it's so easy for us to look at the outside of things and make an assumption of how we think it's going. And how we think it should be, and then we try and put our effort in and try to fix it. For example, it's so easy to drive, you know, there's parts of Richmond that are just broken down, and it's so easy to say, well, this is where ministry needs to take place. This is where we're going to do our mission. But someone wouldn't go to River Road, one of the wealthy areas of Richmond. Yeah. There's hurting people all around. Right. So, you know, ministry does not always look on the outside a certain way.
And I'll hit you with that. I think you hit it, nailed it, because I read an article this week on ESPN. I shared it with you. I posted on my page. It was on up in Baltimore. Baltimore's horrible right now. The city's horrible. A lot of parts of it. I would say 3/4 of it's just terrible. They're talking about the football team in the ghetto. This Catholic school in the ghetto where their drug dealers hang out and wait for the kids to come out so they can make them minister or sell them drugs and make them become part of the gangs. This rich white dude runs the football program. Yeah. He came there last year. He got minister in the rich neighborhood. What happened? He then came inward. Right. He was able to bring resources in. They have the best football team in the whole state of Maryland, where no teams want to play them. They have to go to Canada now to play football. Oh wow! And they're flying out in his personal jet. He pays for the whole school. He pays for all the football players' tuitions. He bought townhouses out front, and kids who don't have a home, they have a home. He makes sure every kid has a meal. He set up meal programs. He has a catering service that caters to them. He pays for all of the teachers' salaries there because they fell on hard time the school did. It got so much of pride going on in that area that when the football players run down the street as a team, the people in the neighborhood come out and they start cheering them on. Like, that's huge. Yeah. He's heard about them, some of the football players, like he's talked about this one guy came to him and said that a third male in his family was shot dead this weekend. What did he do? He went to the guy's house and went into the family and started loving on them. He's invested into their families, not just on the field, but he's invested outward. But even on the field, this is basically all black school.
Yeah.
He said on the field that they will get racist taunting to try to get penalties against them. And he told them, anytime they say stuff to you, they try to bait you, just say God bless you. They started doing it. The players started doing that. So much that the other team became baffled. And they're like, huh? Is how you responded to me? And they were amazed. He said that he was going out to his car one day, and a bunch of kids in the neighborhood, like 10-year-olds, they came over and they started cleaning his car. Right? And he says all they had was like a unmarked bottle, and they had newspaper, because that's all they can get. And they're cleaning his car, and he's like, it was one of the best car washes they had. He asked, he goes, what's your dreams? What's your passion? And you know what they said? We want to go to school here, because you're here.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, it's like we're like, well, I need to go in there, but sometimes maybe we can minister to people here that we as a group can then go in.
Right.
Because this guy built a financial company that do set for life. And because of that, he's able to now go into those areas and change them. And not just by himself, because he breaks these the company stuff that he works with, and they come in.
Right.
And they help. He's not doing himself. I think we're like, I gotta go be the savior. No, you're not. But together we can do it together. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna look more impactful if we do it together instead of one of us just trying to do it.
Yeah. Even saying God bless you, that's ministry. You can some might be, well, how can I minister to someone in River Road, these rich people? You can stick your hand out as you're driving by and wave to somebody. Those people need their grass cut. Right. They're hired companies. You can be a minister. You can be doing missions as you're cutting grass. Mm-hmm. Those people need haircuts. They'll come in,
Yeah, I mean, and I would say this. He said a simple thing. He said, love your neighbor. Mm-hmm. What does that really mean? Well, you're my neighbors right now. Mm-hmm. When we leave, we're going to go to lunch, and those are my neighbors. Right. And I can love whatever I do.
You'll find
and I found this too. We started to talk about this, and this has been huge. I think we need to change the air freshener because we're late. It just kind of got me. I saw this red light. I was like attracted to the red light. We were at Kroger, and the guys who pick up the carts. Now it's hot, summertime, and this dude Chris, we see him. He talks to us every time. I was out there, and he came up to me. He goes, "Hey, where are the kids at? The girls?" And I was like, "They're at home." I said, "I came by myself." I felt in my heart. I said, "Dude, what you do here is so freaking amazing. You pick up our carts for us all day long, and you pull them in there so that when we come to shop, there's a cart waiting there for us. We don't have to go search for one. You make it available for us." Yeah. And I said, that's my dad to him. So my dad wants to make sure that we all have a pleasant experience when we come to Kroger, and you get to be the big, huge part of that. And he just looked at me, and he hugged me. He gave me a hug. Because I told him what he does is important. He's ministering by just picking up carts. And having a cart available for me and my kids when we come there, because the girls go crazy. They look for carts. They want those little carts. You know what's so funny? After that, the little carts started showing up more. Because we would have to go look into things. Those little carts started showing up. I don't know if it was him or what. Something happened. Yeah. But we don't have to ever look for carts now, do we? We come in and the carts are right there. And that's my dad. My dad wants to make sure the carts are available for us. And for him just to do that, to me, it's freaking amazing.
It's interesting you bring that up, because one of the things that I won't necessarily say struggle with, so obviously I'm African American, right? Korea's African American.
I'm just a token white boy today.
Yeah,
on the camera.
But you're African American to me, Josh.
You got a Jewish boy there.
So, you hear things about like Black Lives Matter, you hear about the different kind of social agendas that are out there right now. And some of these things hit closer to home. Yeah. One of the things that I struggle with personally and spiritually is the concept when Christians, I would call it the religious kind of component, where they say, well, we're not of this world, we're just in it temporarily. And I'm like, well, when I think about the example of Jesus went amongst the sinners, the prostitutes, the bill collectors, the whole nine.
Yeah.
And, you talk about fulfilling the second commandment as far as, love your neighbor as yourself. And then, when Jesus fulfilled all of those commandments, said the greatest of these commandments is love. I wonder why the church is so strangely silent, as a collective in terms of, some of the societal issues that are going on.
Yeah. And they're silent not just with words. I think
it's silent in words, silent in action.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we're like, well, if you're not talking, you're not doing anything.
Right.
But we want to make sure that it was being part of it is also doing.
Right.
You always don't have to talk about what you're doing.
Right.
But sometimes there's certain people who are good boys.
Yeah.
Like you.
Right.
You're good boys.
So,
yeah,
but what I'm looking at in terms of I'm challenging, our Christian leaders. I'm challenging, us as believers to really take a hard stand against these things. Yeah. If believers rise up and we talk about the importance of love and the importance of getting into these communities that are hard hit and actually putting our hands to the plow.
Yeah.
I think that, instead of waiting on things like, and I'm going to kind of speak my own personal opinions here, I think instead of having a bunch of pastors go meet with President Trump, what if we took those same pastors, who probably have congregations of 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, took a look at things like, how does your prison ministry operate? What kind of schools can you set up within your particular congregation for your church that serves your community?
The communities all around
you. The communities all around you, where you have a church that will stop things like, well, if we're talking about prison reform, then what is the root cause of prison? That means that somebody has done something that landed them there in prison. Now, the vast majority of folks might say something to the effect of, well, we all know the difference between right and wrong. But I had a great conversation with a counselor friend of mine this past Sunday, and talked about, he's been in the communities, and he said that, no, that's not necessarily true. Some of the kids don't know right from wrong, right? But if we have the different venues and the different, systems, channels, where we can actually help create the social construct that's necessary for success in life, then there won't be a need for discussions on prison reform.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right? Yeah. Or there won't be a need to discuss, well, how do you alleviate black on black crime?
Yeah.
Well, when we're teaching you about love here, we're teaching about loving your neighbor. Easier said than done, but at the end of the day, you have the foundational blocks that you can start to put in place, right? Yeah. How to interact with police officers. I'll give you guys, now I'm not going to say that there aren't some dirty cops out there, but not every cop is a dirty cop, right? Mm-hmm. I'll give you guys an example. I live in Hanover County, and I was coming down this particular road. The speed limit was 55. I was going 65. Mm-hmm. And I was getting there because I was late, going somewhere, just riding. And I passed a police officer. I was like, he got me. Because he pulled out. And I was like, he got me. So I went ahead and just parked my car. And I waited for him. Because I knew I was hit. Yeah. And then when the police officer pulls up, he gets out of the car laughing. Like he is bent over laughing. Like I'm talking about like when you lose your breath kind of laugh because something's that funny to you. Mm-hmm. This guy gets out of his car and he's laughing. I mean, he's laughing hard. And he walks up to me and said, man, I got you, didn't I? I said, man, you did. You got me. I was speeding, Miss Officer. I was. Mm-hmm. He was like, you know what? That goes a long way. He said, you know what? I'm not even going to write you a ticket. He said, good to go. He said, you know what? You made my day with that one. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And it was just that simple. Now keep in mind, before he came up, I felt that kind of like little fear that most African Americans feel when a police officer pulls them over, right? But I was like, okay, well, either I can, I can actually manage the situation, right? Yeah. And in a sense, manage the reaction that he might have towards me.
Yeah.
Right?
You're absolutely right.
And there's ways that you can train us, each other, right? Yeah. To be able to interact, to soften the mood of situations that might otherwise get tense. Yeah. Right? Yep. And so if you take it back to what the word says, a soft answer turneth away wrath, right? So my soft answer in that situation was, I was wrong, Mr. Officer. You got me. Yeah. I mean, he's like, that's what you can do any which way, but because it was like, you know, okay, good to go. You're not a threat to me or anything else. You know what I'm saying?
And that ministered to the officer.
Yeah.
Maybe he needed a laugh that day.
Yeah, but
to help ease some tension.
But I was like, I'm about to get hit. My insurance is going to go up. And then it was like, no, I'm not going to get you. I mean, he said, because I know we start writing tickets after like 66 or something like that. But I was right at 65. But, you know, at the end of the day, the point of all of that is, you know,
it's how you respond.
It's how you respond to situations, right?
If you respond out of fear, you're going to be a certain way.
Right.
If you respond out of love,
right.
or it's just a change of mind how you saw them.
Right.
And it changed your response.
But then think about how we talked. Think about how we mirror that back to the overall broader conversation what this ministry looked like. I first started off with an opinion about we have all of these different people kind of jockeying position with the president. Which in my personal opinion, they don't really, I mean, I'm not judging them, but in my opinion, I really feel like their platform is all that's needed to facilitate the change that's required.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I have a barbershop, you know, these guys have mega churches and they can go forth with different programs that will influence the community. So when you influence the community, guess what? You influence the city.
Yeah.
When you influence the city, you influence the county.
Yeah.
When you influence the county, you influence the state. And when you influence the state, you can influence the nation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I really think that there is a way for us to really kind of, you know, grab this bull by the horns and wrestle it into submission if we're willing to follow that, you know, that overall commandment of love thy neighbor as yourself.
Yeah. And you hit me with something. We actually talked about this a couple weeks ago. Won't you be my neighbor? Remember that? So I'm going to say something.
Mr. Rogers.
Well, I'm actually going to say something.
Something kind of looks like Mr. Rogers.
I'm going to say something because I'm going to repeat it and you're going to hear it again. I don't care. It's great. During I think it was the 60s or 70s, you probably remember, there was a big wide thing where people...
I was born in 74.
No, but you probably heard about it though. But you heard about it though.
Yeah.
It was when there was, I think, a hotel owner, African Americans were swimming the pool. He drained the pool and bleached it out. You've heard stories like that. Okay. So Mr. Rogers heard about it. You know what he did?
On his show.
On his show, he had Officer Clemens. You know Officer Clemens, I can't remember the guy's name. He was the first paid African American actor who was on a TV show. Like full time, not part time.
Yeah.
He did a show. He told him what he was going to do. So the show goes, Mr. Rogers is in his backyard with his feet in the pool. And he invited Officer Clemens over, African American, to have a dip. And then too, he washed his feet. Then the pool, he goes, I don't have a towel. He goes, but you can use my towel. So subtle, and never accusing anybody, but showing that we're the same and we can share a pool together.
Yeah.
And then even to the point where that same guy, because if you get a chance to, you gotta watch the documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, about Mr. Rogers and his life. It's beautiful. And if you didn't know, he was an ordained minister, Presbyterian, and they hated him for that.
Yeah.
He got hated for that, doing stuff like that. But later in life, later down the road, if you didn't know, the guy who played Officer Clemens, he was gay. Really? And they all knew it in the show. And they protected him because back then it was pretty bad. They would do some awful stuff to you.
Yeah.
And they all protected him, so they let out of the studio. He said that one day, you know, Mr. Rogers' famous line is, he goes, I like you just the way you are. So he said he had him on the show, and that episode, he goes, I like you just the way you are. So and you can watch the episode where his face just like Officer Clemens' face just kind of it's different.
Didn't he grab him on the shoulders?
Not yet. Oh. And so then he goes, no, it felt weird. It felt different. So when they wrapped up the show, wrapped up the episode, he immediately went backstage to Mr. Rogers. He goes, that was different when you said that to me this time. He goes, were you talking to me or to my character? He grabbed him by the shoulders. He goes, I was talking to you, but he goes, but I've always been telling you that. I love you just the way you are. And he's talking about as a gay man, he goes, that was unheard of. And he goes, I've always been telling you that. He said, that changed his life.
Yeah.
And I think as a church, I think like you said, there's people who can speak, who can talk out. I think the real deal comes out when we do stuff.
Yeah.
When we do that, like that subtle thing is cool. Or to even what you did, you changed. You probably changed the officer's perception of a black male.
Yeah.
Like that changed the perspective. And we're like, well, we gotta have laws to change. It's not gonna change the heart.
Right.
What law has changed somebody's heart? Because I'll tell you this: the civil rights law. What change have they brought? Did it eradicate racism? No.
Completely.
It did. It did. It probably put a mute on the voice, but it was still there.
Right.
And when it rears its ugly head, it's ugly.
It's very ugly.
It's very ugly.
Yeah.
It didn't eradicate it. No law is going to eradicate it. But it's a change of heart,
right.
Change of mind that brings that. And like you could just change the guy's mind by how he saw as a black male.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow.
When a person,
Go you first. I'll try.
Okay, when a person realizes who they are and that they are accepted by God, it will change how they do ministry. It will change how they do missions. And rather, if they don't know, oftentimes you'll see that defining who they are.
Yeah.
The mission, what they do for God.
Right. It's interesting that you bring, and I guess it's interesting that you bring that up, right? So, as of late, like, most of you guys know I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia, right? So we know that what went on down there last year was crazy. So, but the Lord has really developed a hunger for Charlottesville, Virginia in my life. And we're thinking about ways to influence that area and having meetings with some of the, one council member in particular, it was great and it was eye-opening to understand exactly what the challenges are. And when we think about, remember we talked about how the Lord will place within you like an idea, then he kind of supports and he blows that idea up. Now you have a vision. And then he creates a passion for that particular thing, and then he's going to show you, now that you have the passion to go forward, now let me show you how to navigate whatever you need to navigate in order to achieve the particular outcome that you're going for. And I think at the end of the day, Charlottesville, Virginia will be a focus of mine for the future, right? That's something that I'm working towards now. And when you think about like missions and what does ministry look like in general, I think we all have an assignment, and my assignment once before was to go over to Kenya, to go over to Honduras, to go to Ghana, to go to the Philippines and Hong Kong and all these different places to minister the gospel. And it was there that I could say that the Lord used me in places that were unfamiliar to me to really trust in him only to be, like how do you take an African-American kid from the inner city to go over to all places, Paramaribo, Suriname, to minister to somebody who doesn't really speak English, they speak Dutch. And I'm in my broken Dutch that I'm trying to learn, minister the gospel. So now that I've had that chance to go out there and actually get trained, to go home is going to be a little bit more easier, right? Because now I can speak to you in such terms where, this is what the Lord wants for you. But again, there needed to be a time where he actually trained and equipped me to then be able to go forth and do what I need to do, as time goes on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I want to say something with that is that we don't say that just because you go overseas, that's bad. Both were I think sometimes we think definition of missions is bad.
Right.
When it's everything.
Right.
I think it's every day. Now some of us go around like a Paul, but not all of us are Paul.
Right.
Vast majority of us are here in our community, and it's okay to be just in your community.
Yeah.
And
missions is every day.
Yeah.
Right. So like if you go back to Matthew 28, he says, "Go forth to Judea." To what was the other pieces?
Samaria.
And the furthermost part of the earth, right?
Yeah.
He didn't say that there was, the only thing that separates those different places is distance. The command is still the same. It's still the same. It's still the same, right? Right. Right now we're in Quioccasin. We're in Tuckahoe, Henrico County, Virginia, and we're influencing the lives of God's people in Metro Richmond, right? the only thing that separates us from China is what? Distance, right? So the Lord might tell me, hey, for 2 weeks this year, I want you to go over there and hang out, minister the gospel, and come back. But while you're here locally, hey, you're to be used, right? You know what I'm saying? You're a vessel. Like, you need to be here doing your thing. So to Pastor Josh's point, just because someone might say, you know what, I'm going to choose to go over here and minister, over in Ireland or India, whatever have you, that's great, okay? But if you have that call of a missionary in your heart, you should be on that ground every day in every way while you're here as opposed to being abroad.
Yep.
That's my challenge.
Yeah. You finish this out, my friend, before we kick it.
Let me take out the really. What ministry looks like. This is generally what we think. It's nice, it's neat, it's organized, it's sanitized, it's done for a certain amount of time on Sundays, maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday, but a certain amount of time, and then it's done. What does ministry really look like? It's ugly, it's nasty, it's smelly, it's outside of the four walls, it's outside of what we think it should be. Yeah. But it always involves love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always involves the eyes reaching out, helping, finding a need and meeting it.
Yep. You're absolutely right. I think that's a good way to finish it.
Finding a need.
Because we got to make sure he gets to open shop and gets all his stuff ready.
And I'm hungry too.
So yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, you're by any time. You can just show up. I'm serious though. I mean, well, you only shop for one. But yeah, you can join us anytime, dude. Just let you know. And we call that you. I mean, like, you can join us live. We can have this whole room having a discussion, which we would love to. You don't have to be on camera like some of us, because you can be a Tim. Tim says behind the camera and talks to us.
Right.
So
it moderates.
And what makes
he moderates too.
Right.
With our stuff all up here. Did somebody say something? No. Go ahead. No, we just want to thank y'all, everybody, for joining in. We gotta get him, make sure he gets cutting because he got some loving to do.
Yeah.
We reach that straight. And then I think next we're gonna talk about spiritual warfare. That's why I have a topic. I gotta talk to y'all too about, because we kind of have a little topic discussion. But I hope everybody enjoys yourselves this week. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe we can pick up even more.
Definitely.
Because I think we can talk all day about it.
Right.
And I know we're hungry. You got Barbara. So with that, kick on music. Y'all have an amazing week. We're gonna keep ministering.